Okay, so there was a question that came up regarding making a, I guess, a scroll type element like you see here in this ring using T-Splines. So I figured I'd go over how I kind of approach this, and we may not make this exact one. You can see this has a couple offshoots and whatnot, but we'll talk about some of it, and hopefully this kind of gets the concept across. So, and there's definitely more than one way to do this. I'll just show you the way that I went about it. Um, so to start with, and this is, most of my T-Splines models now start with this tool. This is a pin face. So what I would do is just start by drawing one single face, and I'm drawing kind of big here, but it's okay. So there that is, and maybe we'll scale this down so I can kind of stay on my grid. Okay, so there's one face, and I will shade this. There that is. So with this one face, we can kind of go after our design from here. So hopefully this is a little easier to see in the video. Not sure. So I'll switch over to edge mode here, and I'm just going to grab this edge, and I'm going to hold Alt. Actually, let me go back to just regular shaded. I'm going to hold Alt, and I will use my handle here, and I'm just going to drag another face out. So I'm just extruding by holding Alt. And I can just continue to do this. I'll do a few faces, and obviously I can't achieve the shape I want by just extruding. I'm going to have to make this thing start turning at some point. So there's a couple different ways to do that. I can switch to rotate and just kind of turn my edges. Or my preferred method, and I don't know if this is the long way or the short way, but this is just the way I do it. I will turn on my vertices and just kind of move them into place. So that gives me the ability to adjust not only the angle but the thickness as well of my piece as it goes through. So you can see I can just grab a vert and push and pull it right to the location that I want. So there that is. And really all this is probably going to need to be adjusted again once I get more geometry out here, but we'll see. So I'll go back to edge mode, holding Alt, and I'll extrude again. And you can see I'm really going to have to do some adjustments here to make this turn. So I'm just kind of pushing and pulling, and like I said, this is the way I do it. I'm not saying this is the right way. I'm not saying there even is a right way. There's other ways to do this, and we could look at maybe doing it with pipe. But I like this method, and to tell you the truth, when you get kind of in the groove and you get going, it's not that bad. It goes on pretty smoothly. So. Alright, and we don't have to have this perfect yet because we're going to be adding more geometry, but I do think I want to add one more set of faces here. So there that is. And what this is going to allow me to do is thicken some of this stuff up, bring it out. So there that is. And I probably could have put one more edge in this area, but that's okay. For the video purpose, I'm not going for perfection. I'm just going to try to show you the concept here. So there that is. So we'll start with something like this, and of course this tail could go on to whatever you wanted it to. It's really up to you. So I could sit and push and pull points for the next hour, but that would be extremely boring for anyone watching this. Okay, so after we do that, I'm going to switch over here to my perspective view, and we'll just kind of look at this. So this is just a flat set of faces that I did with a pin face, and it started from just the one single root face there. And now we're ready to add some detail and add some thickness and all that good stuff. So I will, there's a couple different ways we can do this. I could select all these faces and do extrude, and that might be an okay way to do it. I think for this one though, I'm going to grab this whole piece and run the thicken command. So if you want to type it, it's TS thicken. And we can add a thickness to this. So I'll just give it something. So there that is. So we start off with that. Now you could look at this and say, well, I could have just done this with pipe, right? And added some different radius handles here and this and that. And that is absolutely 100% true. I'm definitely not going to complain, and who knows, if I had to do this again, I might just very well do that. But when you're laying out more complex shapes, for this particular one, it probably would have been okay. But as you get more and more complex, you'll find that pipe doesn't let you don't have so much control over where the edges are how they're laid out, so you don't have as much control over the topology, and that is really a benefit of using a pin face. So that's kind of why I stick with that, even though in this particular case it probably didn't really matter. Okay, so again, I can push and pull this until like my heart's content, but I think we're just gonna call that good enough for the shape. Now, there's a couple other things we need to do. So to start adding detail, I'm just going to pick an edge, and I'm going to push K for ring select. So that got all of those edges going all the way around, and I will do insert edge right on this midpoint. Okay, and I just did insert edge simple, so that allows it to change the shape and all as well. Now I want to run that one more time, but I'm going to make sure both sides is turned on, and kind of offset an edge on either side of that. So this gets to look sort of squared, but that's okay. This is actually what we want. So now I can start picking these middle edges here, and just along the top. I don't want to do down on the sides or the bottom, and I'll just pull that up a bit. Okay, so you can start to see we get some definition, and now I can start to pick these edges. These were the second set of edges that got inserted. And you can see I didn't go all the way to the edge here. I kind of wanted to taper out, so I stopped one edge short of the end there, if that makes any sense. So I pick all these, and I will actually push these down a bit, and you can start to see we get that kind of grooved shape. Now if we look at this image, that's kind of what's going on here, and what I've done in this image is I've gone in and pushed and pulled this even further, something to the extent of over here, and this gray might be a little hard to see, I'm not sure. We can try a different color here. Whoa, not that one. Let's maybe go to blue. I don't know, is that better or worse? So we'll go back. So what we can do, yeah, it's not so great either. So what we can do is I can push and pull this edge into shape. So if we wanted to actually grab this face here, or this set of faces, we could pull these out a bit and start to give this thing a little more of a freeform feel, to where it doesn't have to stay like right on center there. So there that is, and we could you just go through one edge at a time maybe and push and pull this thing into whatever shape you want. I kind of like for these to come out a little bit, and the outside just kind of rounds over. So there's a lot you can do. I like taking the edges on the inside here and trying to get these into some sort of shape that's not just a blunt end. Now that we have more detail here, you can really, you can make this thing flare or do whatever needs to be done. So, and this might be, overkill for this one little design element. I don't know. But in a band like the picture we were working from, this little design element is the band. Um, so maybe it's not overkill. I don't know. So there's that. So you can keep pushing and pulling and pushing and pulling and do whatever's needed. Now, um, that gets it, and you can see on this one I went with more of a pointed end. So if that was more what you wanted, you could uh, you could definitely push and pull these edges into more of a point, and I would almost be tempted to pull this to start pulling these in and make the point over here in this corner maybe. If you wanted it in the middle, then you could pull that out, push that in. So I'm not gonna chase this too hard, but you can see you can start to get a point there, and just by pushing and pulling. So you can chase that. That's all well and good. The little offshoots that we had in this image, like these here, if you had this planned out, like if you'd done a sketch or something, you could definitely use this as part of your pen face. So before you did your extrude or your thicken, you could have this laid out, so you would just extrude another set of faces off of your original. But if it's an afterthought, you can still do it. It's just a little more it's a little more challenging if you don't already have geometry where you need it. So let's say I wanted to come off of this portion right here. I could hold Alt with that face selected and just drag, and it will extrude another piece, and do it again, and it'll extrude another piece. And really this is the same concept as when we were extruding edges. So you could turn on your points, or you could just switch over to rotate and rotate this around. So you could do that, and then you would of course have to line up your edges, and you rinse and repeat. So I'm not going to go through all of that just in the interest of time, but you could extrude these wherever need be, or you could do them beforehand when you're doing your pen face. This isn't the prettiest thing in the world, but hopefully it got the concept across. So there that is. And as far as height, I would just go in and you could adjust a single section at a time, either with faces or with edges. I would almost be tempted to do this one with the edges here. There's that, and you could push this one down. So if you wanted it to vary in height, maybe switch over to face for some of these, so it could get thicker and thinner as need be. So I don't know. Hopefully this helps. And one good thing, we went with thicken instead of extrude when we did when we added some thickness to this thing. So that gave us a closed back, and it stayed flat. If you do an extrude, it will be open, and that's a good way. I would definitely do that if I was going to add symmetry to this piece, or if you wanted to shell it for some reason. But I like this. This is fine, because I wanted a flat back on it. So there that is, and hopefully this video was of some help. And I would always run, after all that extruding and moving edges and inserting edges and all that, I would run make uniform on it. You can see it relaxed it a little bit, even if I have to go in here and adjust this some more. These edges here don't look, I'm not completely happy with this, but I hope it got the point across. Hopefully it was of some use here. And that's really that. So you can kind of see how it'd look in metal there. Hopefully this was helpful.